Many
Make this smaller. Bring up this. Myron was supposed to do this. He has 4 kids. I don't know if you guys knew this. Myron has 4 kids. I pay a minimum wage and he keeps complaining it's not enough to feed his kids. I say that it's not my problem. I didn't get your wife pregnant. Let's see here. Who can tell me what this guy's name is? I can't pronounce his name. Can someone type his name in the chat phonetically? But I want to play this. We're going to talk about many topics. Let me see if I can give you a little preview of what topics we're going to talk about. Climate change, immigration, deficits. What else do I got here? I was right about masks during COVID. Maybe some trans stuff. Yeah. And then we're going to talk about this. But you can call in about whatever you want. Links on the top of the live stream chat. Okay, let's play. Has anybody told me phonetically how to pronounce this guy's name yet? Starts with Y, right? There has to be someone in here who knows who this guy is. He wrote a book. He basically said the concept of money is a myth that we all share in, which I agree. But now he got in trouble. This is now all over Twitter. He got in trouble by saying something similar about money to human rights.
Many, maybe most legal systems are based on this idea, this belief in human rights.
Okay, here we go. Chad, thank you. Yuval Noah Harari. Yuval Noah Harari. That's who this guy is. Very lean. Probably 9% body fat.
But human rights are just like heaven and like God. It's just a fictional story that we've invented and spread around. It may be a very nice story. It may be a very attractive story. We want to believe it. But it's just a story. It's not a reality. It is not a...
He made a mistake here. I don't think he would have gotten much flack if he would have removed the word just. Just a story. He should just say, it's a story.
Biological reality. Just as jellyfish and woodpeckers and ostriches have no rights, Homo sapiens have no rights also. Take a human, cut him open, look inside.
See, I love this. The person who posted this, and I've saw many of it, like Jordan Peterson posted a response to this, just calling this guy evil, basically. This guy says, villainously inept. What a philosophically inept position, Andrew Snyder says. But I like this. I like that it triggers people.
You find their blood, and you find the heart and lungs and kidneys, but you don't find there any rights. The only place you find rights is in the fictional stories that humans have invented and spread around. And the same thing is also true in the political field. States and nations are also, like human rights and like God and like heaven, they too are just stories. A mountain is a reality. You can see it. You can touch it.
Well, not according to the idealists, right? A mountain is just a projection of the mind.
You can even smell it. But Israel or the United States, they are just stories. Very powerful stories. Stories we might want to believe.
See, how can you say just stories and then say powerful stories right after that? That's his only mistake, in my opinion.
Very much, but still they are just stories. You can't really see the United States. You cannot touch it. You cannot smell it.
Yeah. So what he's really saying here is he's describing where human rights come from. And no surprise, it comes from humans. Now, if you're a theist, of course, you're going to reject all this entirely because you would say it comes from God. But if you say human rights come from God, then you're stuck with, okay, but the enforcing of these rights, the legislation of these rights, it's all up to humans. They have to do all the work. God doesn't come down and write constitutions for countries. He doesn't put people in prison for violating certain human rights. So even if you're a theist, you still have to admit, I think, what I just said. But as an atheist, I think you definitely have to agree. Well, maybe not. There's other ways you can maybe say that there's some type of human right law that's part of nature, just like gravity is. T-Jump might say something like that. But basically, human rights come from humans. So if a community of humans say you don't have a right to do X, guess what? You don't have a right to do X. Now, you might do X, but then you have to suffer the consequences, if whatever society says. Now, to make things controversial, this is why when people say on the abortion issue, a woman has a right to bodily autonomy, you can just look them in the eyes and say, no, they don't. If society says no, they don't. Then they can say, but they should. Well, what's your argument for that? So my advice to anybody who's debating abortion and you're using human rights, a woman's right to choose, you're going to get in trouble very quickly in societies where humans have decided, no, in that specific case, you don't have that right. Shannon Q, are you listening? Would you like to come in? In fact, I should bring that up. She never responded to me, but she was on Twitter the other day. I don't know if I can find this quickly because for some reason, it's always tough to find her. Do I follow her? What's her Twitter? I always get her mixed up with a Shannon Q in Australia. And the Shannon Q in Australia, I think, likes me. But basically, I was doing a back and forth with some of her followers and pointing out that she had some type of syllogism that started premise one, that started that basically that a woman has a right to her body. And I said, in societies where abortion is illegal, premise one fails. No, a woman does not have a right to her body in that case. So what do you do then? You know, your syllogism is just kaput. So yeah, human rights come from humans. And human rights can change. And even if you say human rights come from God, because we were born in the image, created in the image of God, so what? You're still going to have to enforce it, implement it, and this is all done by humans. It'd be nice if God's real and he could actually do some of the work for us. Someone murders another person. It'd be nice if God could just go, poof, you're gone. Next. Yeah, I think you're right, Uber. Zero chance she'll interact with me. I've even promised to keep half my brain behind my back. So when it comes to topics like abortion, I think the best arguments for abortion is you basically got to do appeals to emotion. That's your best bet. Saying, hey, like if you have a daughter and she got pregnant and would ruin her life and career, like wouldn't you want her to get an abortion? Like stuff like that. And definitely, like, if the uncle rapes your daughter, wouldn't you want an abortion? If a criminal rapes your daughter, wouldn't you want an abortion? Like, those are powerful arguments. And I think most reasonable people say, yeah, in those cases, abortion is okay. Like, if I had an argument with my wife years ago on this, and I said to her, if you got pregnant, although both of us are infertile, so we had to do IVF, but if she got pregnant and and 3 doctors said, yeah, 99% chance you're going to die if you go through this pregnancy. I told her, wouldn't it be selfish not to get an abortion? You got 2 kids who need you. You have a husband who needs you, who loves you. And you're willing to die to save the life of the fetus? And her answer was basically because of religion. She thought God would be sad if that would happen. Of course, she would not frame it that way. But it's basically, that's it. It's like, God said no, so don't do it. But even, I didn't explore it further, but even for Christian women who think that way, I would encourage them to think, okay, do you think you're going to go to hell for having an abortion? Like, what's really the worst case scenario? So you disobey God on purpose. What's the worst that's going to happen to you? You do it one time. One abortion. I think there's very few Christians who say that would exempt you from going to heaven. So really, what have you lost besides the fetus? You've gained the life of a mother whose family needs her. But I guess it's just the fear is so high. Like, maybe a lot of Christians do think God's going to smite them, or if they get an abortion, they're going to lose, I don't know, something bad's going to happen in their life. God's going to punish them in this life. If there's any Christian women here, I would love for you to come talk to me. Help me understand this. Because I don't think my own wife wants to talk about this issue. It's very sensitive. Although it doesn't really apply to us, as I said. Are IVF siblings fraternal twins since they were fertilized at the same time, not because they were carried at the same time? No, IVFs, they're separate eggs. So now if it's one egg that splits, then yeah. But yeah, IVF babies are the best babies because they're the epitome of planning. I've always said that if the whole world, if reproduction was done through IVF only, well over 50% of all crime would go down. Poverty would go down, my guess is like 80-90%. Crime would go down, my guess would be at least 50, probably 70-80%. Now, the amount of reproduction would go down huge. But a lot of, especially people on the left would say that's a good thing. But then we get into topics like eugenics, like should it be, should every child born be automatically vaccinated against reproduction, and then they have to apply for children when they're 21 years old, maximum, and then they have to have proof of income, just like buying a house. You got to show that you're not mentally ill, that you have income, good stable job. And then if you can show all this, you got to put 20% down for the cost of the child, and then amortize it for over 18 years. Can you imagine if reproduction was like buying a home? And then you get the antidote to the sterilization if you pass all the criteria. That's eugenics, right? And many people would say that's highly immoral. But I think it's very hard for anyone to disagree that it would work in terms of lowering poverty and lowering crime. Basically, by definition, there would be 0 unwanted babies. Every baby was desperately wanted by people. Science Pete, are you the Pete? Are you the Pete I know? Or is there a different Science Pete? If you are the Pete I know, maybe we get to the next topic. I remember, was it 2 years ago now? I said putting masks on kids in schools during COVID was stupid. Something to that effect. Is there anybody here who remembers me saying that? Or have they all left? But if you remember me saying that, I think I said something to that effect. And now that people really don't care about COVID as much, there's studies coming out in Europe, I think even the US. Shows I was right. At least in terms of protecting children. Masks really didn't make a dent. Here's face mask recommendations in schools did not impact COVID-19 incidents among 10 to 12-year-olds in Finland. Joint point regression analysis. Conclusion, according to our analysis, no additional effect was gained from mandating masks, face masks. There's several studies like this. I think Sweden did another one. It's a bad idea to put masks on kids. And there, of course, there's studies on the negative effects of masks on children for social development. Feels good to be right, but feels bad in another way. Oh, it is you. Okay. Yeah, you disagree with what I just said, Pete? Pete is the guy who I had on who very early on, like, when was that? April 2020? No. November, late 2020, he came on and we encouraged people to get the vaccination. Pete, see if you can answer this question for me. A random person in the world gets vaccinated for COVID in the year early 2021. What is the probability that they're going to have a serious side effect that leads them to go to the hospital? Is it 1 in a million? 1 in 10,000? I want to know the answer to that question. I think I already do know the answer. But I want to see if your answer matches mine. So the question is, a random person, you don't know anything about them, they're a human being, they get the COVID vaccine. What's the chances they're going to go to the hospital with a serious side effect? Meaning, it could be anything, like a serious allergic reaction, like to the point that they may die. Could be some type of blood clot, whatever. I like to dare people to answer that question. And again, I think I know the answer, but I want to see if you do. If you can answer that question, then we can explore whether the vaccine was worth it, whether the benefits outweighed the risks. Science Pete is frantically Googling right now. Someone asked me a question here. Where'd it go? Mighty Sarlacc said, Doug, Trump or Biden? I'm actually having an informal debate tonight on P.F. Young's channel. I'll probably link it later. He entitled it Fascist Conservative versus Progressive Leftist. Now, I'm on record saying if I had to choose between Trump or Biden, I'd choose Trump. But let me be clear. I would prefer neither. In fact, there's still a high probability chance that I will not vote for Trump because I don't think Biden's going to run. But who would I vote for? I don't know. I think the other alternative would maybe be that Kennedy kid, that Kennedy Jr. kid, that young guy with the, was really fit. Because one of my biggest policy issues is immigration, and he's pretty tough on immigration. But I do believe that if it is against Trump and Biden, Trump will beat Biden. In fact, do I have something on that? Yeah, I do. Great segue, people. And science, did Science Speed answer? Don't know the actual adverse reaction rate, but it's very low and the benefits greatly out. Are you sure, Science Pete? Are you sure? Are you sure that the benefits outweigh the risks for all people? Majority of people? I'll get back to you, Pete, in a second here, but I want to, before I forget, this came out just yesterday. No, 2 days ago. I'll make it this bigger. Trump post-record lead over Biden, 45 to 40. Now, some people think, well, that's only 5 percentage points. That's not much, but that's significant. 10% someone else, 5%. So basically, if all this 5% votes for Biden, it's basically a statistical tie. 82% of Democrats are going to vote for Biden. 90% of Republicans are going to vote for Trump. Independents are going to vote for Trump, not Biden. Independents, undecided, are the people who decide elections, not Republicans, not Democrats. So everything's pointing towards Trump. So that means for the people out there who have great fears about Trump being president, that means you basically only have 4 years left to live. He's going to come find you and kill you. Or the world's going to blow up because he's going to use a nuclear bomb, or he's going to become a dictator, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Science Peak, getting back to you. I have read that the chance of getting a serious side effect, and I believe I got this from, oh man, do I have this? I think I got this from Pfizer themselves, is 1 in 1,000. Do you believe that? So you take 1,000 people, you give them the Pfizer COVID shot. One of those 1,000 people is going to go to the hospital because they took the COVID shot. Do you believe that? Are you doubtful of that? And while you answer that question, let's see if I can find the paper on that. 1 in 1,000. It's actually lower than that. It's actually, I think, close to 1 in 800. But I'll round up. Does that sound right to you? Does that sound close? Does that sound far off? No, I'm talking grade. I'm talking more than just pain and tenderness from the injection site. Because that you don't have to go to the hospital for. Yeah, I'm looking it up now. Keep your pants on. I'm looking it up right now. I should have it here. I don't know why I didn't have this up. I'm trying to bring a lot of my source information, have it up for tonight's debate, because I don't know what's going to be talked about. So, but for some reason, does Doug know the COVID mortality rates? Yes, I do. I've been tracking COVID mortality rates for 3 years now. I have a spreadsheet. How many people here have a spreadsheet and track every month how many people die from COVID? Am I the only one? Am I? I bet you I am. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I can quiz you too. This is not what I was looking for. There's an Australian paper. Hey, PF Young. Yeah, I did some advertising for you. This is for Myron and his 4 children. No, don't give Myron money. It's his fault that he had so many kids. Personal responsibility. Although maybe he can use the $10 to buy a condom. How much do condoms cost? You know, to be fair, I don't think I've ever used a condom in my life. I was a virgin when I got married. Found out pretty early on in our marriage that I was infertile. No condoms needed. It's really hard to get an STD if you have one sexual partner. Did you guys know that? Just saying. Just saying. Did Pete respond to me yet? Pete, do you know how to tag me so I can easily see? My question to you was, does 1 in 1,000 sound right to you, reasonable? Why don't I have it here? Okay, let me see if I can find it somewhere else. If you had to work around people with COVID-19, hospitals, some volunteering, would you feel safer if you were vaccinated? Me personally, yeah. I am for the COVID vaccine for people my age or older. I think that's the wise move. But for people, let's say under 20, for sure not. The benefits do not outweigh the risks. I'll be on record saying it's stupid for someone young to get the COVID vaccine. Stupid. With 2 O's. Because the number of people who die from COVID, the biggest percentage are people over 75 and then 50. Well, don't worry, Colby. Even though you're stupid, people still love you. Look at Forrest Gump. He was stupid and people loved him. There, yeah, Science Pete, you figured out how to tag. You kids were born via IVF, so technical, you could still be a virgin. True, yeah, technically I could be a virgin. My kids were conceived with me not in the room. Oh, it's great. I didn't have to get all dirty and icky and slimy. I could sit in my parlor and smoke my cigar while my kids were being conceived. I sound like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. No, the dude, I'm saying that if you want to get the vaccine and when you're younger, that's your choice. Your body, your choice, right? But I think in terms of the benefits and risks, when you're really young, it does not outweigh it. The benefits do not outweigh the risks. Okay, let's see if I can find it on this other channel. You can call in, Pete. I know you're not working. Or did you go back to work already? But don't go anywhere, Pete. I got to find this for you. Yeah, don't go anywhere. Here we go. I think I found it. I think this is... No, that's not it. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. I found it. You can relax. Can you see that? Do I need it? That's too sharp. Okay, what is this? This is blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. There you go. You can read the blah, blahs later. Results. Pfizer and Moderna mRNA vaccines were associated with an excess risk of serious adverse events of special interest of 10.1 and 15.1. I hear you calling. Just hang on. Let me finish this. Per 10,000 vaccinated over placebo baselines. Okay. So the risk of serious side effects over placebos is 10.1 to 15.1. Now, if you take your calculator out, let's take an average of the 10 and 15. Let's say, I don't know, 12.5 divided by 10,000. That equals 0.00125. You take 1 divided by 0.00125. There you got it. 1 in 800. Risk of serious side effect is 1 in 800. Now, ask yourself, if that's true, if my math is right, and I think it is, if the risk of a serious side effect is 1 in 800, how many, if you take 1,000 20-year-olds and younger, and you give them COVID, what's the chances of that 20-year-old and younger going to the hospital? From what I've read, it's less than 1 in 800. Now think about that. Think about that. Oh boy, we got a lot of people in here. We got Colby, we got Thomas. Oh, but I'm going to let Pete in. There you are.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. Was I right? You're not working?
I'm still on paternity leave, yeah.
Yeah.
Baby
okay.
is napping right now, so we'll see how much time I have here.
Okay, did you hear what I just said with that paper?
No.
Okay, so did you see it?
No.
Oh, man. Okay. So I just put up a paper. So look at your, actually, I'll put it here. You don't even have to go to YouTube. You just stay right here.
I'm on my phone, so it's right now all I can see is you. I can't see the channel.
Can you see that?
Scroll to the left more.
Like this?
What other direction? Sorry.
Like that?
Where's the okay, Journal of Vaccine, severe adverse events of special interests following mRNA. What does that mean, of special interest?
Special interest. I'm not exactly sure.
So is there an app? There should be an abstract for this.
Yep, scrolling down.
Let's see. So 2020.
Yes,
Can you scroll to the side a little more because it's like cut off for me.
You want to go this way?
Other direction. You need to see the. Keep going with it. Associated with N, and then it cuts off for me.
Oh, you're at the results?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't capture the whole thing, but you know, the takeaway is the vaccines have been given to millions and millions and millions and millions of people. Probably billions of people at this point. So you know, as a general statement, again, there are always special cases, and people can cherry pick data sets and certain cohorts and stuff where there may be deviations from the mean. But as a general statement, given the widespread use of the vaccine, it is extremely safe with minimal risk for serious adverse effects.
Okay, you know what? I don't disagree with you, but if you read here, this is from Pfizer and Moderna.
Mm-hmm.
Their vaccines were associated with an excess risk of serious adverse events of special interest. Now, you ask a good question, what does that mean? But it's 10.1 and 15.1 per 10,000 over placebo baselines.
Again, but we have to go through the whole paper and understand what special interest is. That could be,
my guess is like things that would lead people to go to the hospital.
Well, that's a guess. That's not. I don't know what the paper says.
Okay, but still, let's assume for now that when they say excess risk of serious adverse events, it means what usually we typically use those words to mean. Serious,
you can't use that,
serious adverse event.
You can't. You got to be careful, because in these studies, coming from this field, right, and this is why the FDA regulates like what you could put what the label of a drug or a vaccine can say, because it's very easy to make an assumption that this means that or something else, and then that can affect people's perception of that drug.
Play along with me though, like play along.
No, I know the game here. I want to get to the facts here, right? So until we know exactly what special interest is here, that could be something relating to tenderness or some other sort of effect that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with hospitalization or anything like that. So until we can define what this is.
I actually do think it has to do with hospitalization, and I got another paper to show that, but this will take so much time and effort. If a serious
welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Research.
No, I can bring it up after this. If we were to assume that a serious adverse event, like, would you think most doctors would say soreness on your arm is a serious adverse event?
Those are considered adverse events, have different classifications. So
I know. I asked you a question. Do you believe most doctors would say a bruise on your arm is a serious adverse event?
It depends on
the answer's no, right? Pete.
No, it's not. It's not. No way is it no, because someone could have an allergic reaction in the arm, and the arm can swell. Right?
Yes,
and then that would cause the doctor to prescribe an antihistamine. That would be considered an adverse event. Is that hospitalization serious? No. Is it life-threatening serious? No. But is it something that would require immediate attention? Point. Yeah.
So would you say that's also true of COVID? That's a 20-year-old can get COVID, and is it a serious COVID? No. Do you need to be hospitalized? No. Right? You can say the same thing.
It depends on the patient. COVID affects different people very differently. No, I'm not denying that, but it spans age groups.
Right.
So for instance,
that's my point.
Yeah, but there's very little data to my awareness right now. Again, I've been out of the COVID space for some time. moved on to bigger and better things at this point. But
most of the planet has.
People have very differential reactions to COVID. But the risk of getting COVID and having hospitalization and having serious effects from acquiring the virus are significantly high, especially in susceptible populations.
Hang on. Do you think it's significantly high for people 20 years old and younger?
I've seen cases where people 20 and younger
that's not what I asked you, Pete.
No, but I don't know. I'm just saying anecdotally, right? I have cases of people my age in their 30s to 40s.
I understand.
That have been hospitalized and died. I've seen people in their 70s that got it with no symptoms, right? So I don't know the data offhand to make a blanket statement that especially with COVID, because there are viruses where you can make this.
If you were to guess, let's say we take a pool of 20-year-olds and younger, What's the chances they would go to the hospital from COVID? What's your guess?
I would, again, we got to be careful what we say. I know you with words, and we're going to be very careful what we say, here, right? So,
It's a simple question.
No, it's not. But it's not. But there's not a simple. Nothing is ever a simple question or ever has a simple answer. So, as a general statement, okay, people who are in categories that have higher susceptibility and risk to the virus are going to suffer more serious consequences, right? So let's take the
Not
elderly,
disagreeing.
right?
Why
The
are you talking
elderly-
about this? Because I don't disagree with any of what you're about to say about the elderly.
Then there's no need for the question. We're on the same page.
No. I'm talking about 20-year-olds and younger. And I'm asking you a question.
as
Do
a
you
blanket-
know what the chances are they'd go to the hospital from COVID?
As a blanket statement, I get general statement, it is probably lower for those age categories. Okay, probably lower than for the elderly. Okay. The
Yes,
elderly,
you're right.
yeah, that's a general statement, right? And there's a whole number of reasons for that. Weaker immune systems in the elderly. It's actually even lower for younger kids, right? So younger kids tend to not have as many as severe of a reaction to the virus as 20-year-olds or teenagers, etc. Doesn't mean that young kids can't get seriously sick.
Of course not.
And I think the thing here, though, that we forget when we talk about viruses and vaccines and stuff like that is the reason we get vaccinated is not necessarily for ourselves. It's for the people around us. Okay, because there are significant numbers of people in the population.
But Pete, you notice you are hesitant to answer these simple questions.
No, I'm giving you blanket general statements because I don't
Right.
know the.
Okay, so you don't know
numbers
the
right now.
answer. You don't know the answer.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't want to. If I give you a number, I'm like.
But I asked you to guess. So I'm not even asking you to.
I'm not.
What do your intuitions say?
Just like I don't bet. So, let me give you an example of another virus, right? Where
I'm not interested in another virus.
I know because it doesn't. But it is important to know, right? Because it's different from virus to virus. So for instance, RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, going around very very prevalently right now in the population. The people who are recommended for vaccination for that are infants and the elderly. It is not recommended for people in their 40s, in their 30s, in their 20s, because those people are more resilient to getting the virus, where those other populations are at higher risk. COVID is a different animal. It's just as a blanket statement, COVID is a different animal where those same rules that you can apply to some other viruses don't necessarily apply to COVID, which is why the recommendation is that everyone gets vaccinated against COVID.
Okay, so now let me show you some real data instead of guessing. Hang on a second. Let's scroll down.
Also, COVID has a higher mortality rate than this is a guess now. Higher mortality rate than it also there's strain dependence as well too. Different strains are more virulent than others than things like RSV.
So I don't know if you can see this, but it says Table 3 NNV for prevention of hospitalization for different programs. This is in regards to COVID and the vaccination. So NNV stands for number needed to vaccinate. Mm-hmm. So to prevent one hospitalization, look how it changes by age. You see that there, like 5 to 11 years old, you need to vaccinate 30.
I don't see the age is cut off on my screen. So
okay. You need to vaccinate.
There we go.
You need to vaccinate 34,000 5 to 11-year-olds to prevent one of them from going to the hospital. And then look, for 70 years old and higher, you only need to vaccinate 300 people, old farts, in order to prevent one from going to the hospital. This is
but hold on, the data is nuanced here. So is that saying that you need to, from 5 to 11 years old, you need to vaccinate that number of patients to prevent someone in that same age category to go to the hospital?
Yeah,
okay,
you're understanding it right. Okay.
Yes. So there's a difference there, though, right? If the person who's 70 years old is at the highest risk, right, you're going to want someone, if they're around 5 to 11-year-olds, and stuff, you're going to want them to be vaccinated, because just because they're if they're vaccinated, they can still have lesser chance of transmitting the virus to somebody who's more susceptible.
Right, true. But even if they do transmit it, so let's say you vaccinate old people, that still lowers their risk of dying from COVID, even if you plop them amongst kids who have COVID.
Right, but you have better protection if you vaccinate old people plus the others that could transmit the virus to you. If there's minimal risk to the others getting vaccinated, right, and it decreases
Yeah.
the likelihood of someone susceptible.
Well, we can
getting
talk about
infected.
that too. Like getting the COVID vaccine does not stop transmission, correct?
It reduces severity and
So all you have to do is say, Pete, all you have to do is say, correct.
no, because it's not correct, because
It is correct.
if you reduce severity, that means you shed less virus, which means that it's not going to be as transmissible than if you were like had a full-blown infection. It's not going to stop, it might not necessarily stop transmission, but it might reduce it.
Getting the COVID vaccine does not stop transmission.
Right, but there's a difference between stop and greatly reduce.
Yeah, I understand. But
Okay.
I just asked you a simple question.
We don't
Does
live in
it
a
stop?
perfect
And the
world.
answer is no, it doesn't.
We don't live in a perfect world. Right?
But let's get back to this chart. This chart is saying, what this chart is saying is that people, you get more bang for your buck with old people than you do young people. That's the bottom line. So if you vaccinate 34,000 really young people between 5 and 11, you're going to prevent one of them from going to the hospital because you vaccinated them. Now combine that with with this other paper that I have up. This other paper is saying that over placebos, 1 in 800 people have a serious adverse event. Now we can argue and look deeper into what does that actually mean. But I think this means what it says is in layman's terms, that when it's serious, it's serious. It's not just a bruise. And it's just not, oh, owie, owie.
All right. So one thing, scientific papers are not meant for a layman, and they're not written in layman's terms, right? So, again, you can interpret it that way, but I am very careful to say if what
I actually,
is
like about 2 years ago, I dug into this, what that meant, and it was exactly what you would think it would mean, like myocarditis, severe allergic reactions where you have to go get epinephrine shot or something like that. It was like big stuff. But
let's say we also everything is all relative here, right? So what would be what are the rates of special interest adverse effects for polio vaccine, flu vaccine, other vaccines, right? If these are comparable to other vaccines, but we have no problem taking those other vaccines, why should we also all of a sudden change our opinion?
Good point. And I would say that if the data shows that the number of kids benefiting from a polio vaccine, like if you prevent one hospitalization by vaccinating 34,000, we still we're comparing apples to apples, and we can still say, yeah, maybe for a certain age group, the risks to the vaccine do not outweigh the benefit, or the benefits don't outweigh the risks. So yeah, I'm totally fine with using other vaccines for comparisons and saying maybe certain age groups it's not worth taking the vaccine there either.
Point is, you got to be very careful when you look at these numbers, right? And you got to make sure you're looking at them with a fine-tooth comb, because it's especially in an emotionally charged subject like COVID and vaccination in general and stuff like that. Confirmation bias is an extremely powerful force here.
Yes,
right? So
and I would say
be extremely objective in looking at the data.
So be extremely objective, and don't feel the need to promote. Like, be willing to say, yeah, Doug, maybe the vaccines were a bad idea for young people, if the data points that out.
Yeah, but again, you have to look at the risk reward at the end of the day.
Yes, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
Well, no, and also we have to also look at the context of the reality of the world. We entered into a pandemic in which there was no treatment, no cure for this thing, right? So, because of the vaccines, it was a huge force in bringing us to where we are in the world right now. So we have to, put that into context as well. Now, how COVID vaccination will look in the future going forward, I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of changes to that, the frequency of that, the recommendation for certain groups, et cetera, as we move forward with
it's
this.
kind of done. Like nobody, like, is there anybody who even cares about COVID anymore? Like,
Sure. There was just a huge outbreak right now over the holidays.
I know, but it's like, so what? Like,
it's not so what if you're 70 years old.
Well, no, of course, but getting the flu is not so what if you're 70 years old. My uncle died during COVID, but not of COVID. He just died from having pneumonia. I mean, like, how many people? Do you know how many people died? The latest data I have is September of last year, September 2023. Take a guess how many people died with COVID from COVID, the way that the CDC defines it.
I stopped tracking the numbers a long time ago, but
take a guess.
Let's say 10,000. Let's say 1,000 people.
It was 2,875. Guess how many people died who were under 30 of that number?
Probably 100. Let's say
7. Okay. Now, what was the height of COVID? It was what, 2022?
I don't know. It might have been
late 2021.
The Delta variant, probably summer 2021.
Okay. So let's take
right around when I got married.
So well, let's just take. I got all the numbers here on my spreadsheet. Guess how many people died.
But again, the numbers in isolation don't tell you much, right? So you're saying the most recent numbers.
Well, no, it does. Well, what I'm getting at is Bill Maher had a great segment on this. They did a poll asking people on the left.
The famous epidemiologist Bill Maher.
No,
I'm kidding.
It was a poll asking people on the left and people on the right, hey, if you get COVID, what are the chances you're going to go to the hospital? The Democrats, if memory serves, said something like 55%, like just over half will go to the hospital, when in reality it was 5%. And the Republicans actually gave, when they polled them, and again, these people didn't read newspapers or scientific papers. They were basically just going off their gut intuitions. And the gut intuitions of the Republicans were matched reality more than the Democrats. And it's because
now we're going down another rabbit hole. All right, you're confounding political beliefs.
No, the point of me saying all this is when I ask you, guess how many people died. It's to show that a lot of times, and I'm not saying this is the case for you, but a lot of times we have our intuitions, our biases cloud our judgments on these things. Like I won't ask you to guess. I'll just tell you. In 2021, the average monthly death rate of people over 65 was 26,000 people died a month in all of the United States. This is all U.S. data. Now,
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. 26,000. Okay, so maybe I will ask you to guess. So 65 plus retired people and older, 26,000 a month on average in 2021 died from COVID, as CDC defines it. Guess for under 30 what the death rate was. Given I've told you it's 26,000 for 65 plus.
Let's say, I don't know, 100 a month.
It was 378.
Okay, so my estimations have been lower than yours.
Well, my guess is you lowballed it because you know I'm asking the question. But if I was to ask,
but you're missing the point here, right? You cannot look at numbers in isolation. There are so many variables that are going on here, right? We had vaccines at this point, right? So it could be I had gotten a vaccine before summer of 2021. Okay, so it could be that the population is more vaccinated. People who are younger are going to be more resilient to the virus. And those numbers, while they may have a trend where, again, the older populations are more susceptible, more deaths than the younger populations. But now once you start introducing vaccines, those numbers become even more differentiated. So my point is, there's a lot more context here. I'm not disputing the numbers. I'm just saying there's a lot more context to understand why things were occurring the way they were occurring.
Yeah, I'm just saying that even when I went home to Canada and was talking to my family about COVID, and they all lean right, and their intuitions of how many kids died from COVID were way off. Like they thought, oh yeah, a lot of kids died from COVID, and it's like tens of thousands per month. It was kind of in their head, and I'm going, no, not even close. It was like maybe the worst month you might have 800 kids in all of the United States dying in a month, and most of them had pre-existing conditions. It's like the chances of dying from COVID if you're under 30 and you're relatively healthy, not morbidly obese or whatever, it's almost like it's so incredibly rare.
Well, I don't know about incredibly rare, but we know that children were the least susceptible to COVID. That I don't think that's that's being disputed here. But again, we're missing the bigger picture here. There's two conversations here. There's one about political perceptions about what's going on in the world. Then there's objective fact and scientific evidence for what is really going on, which is really not related to the political.
Yeah, and I
totally,
got objective facts right here. I spent many hours making a spreadsheet.
Totally different things. But again, but the other point we're missing is we were in a pandemic with a virus that we have never seen before, with no cure, no treatment, right? And the best way to squash this thing is to get everybody vaccinated to stop the transmission. Or slow it down.
And this is where we disagree. Like I would say that more harm was done for younger people than the benefit to older people. And plus, I would say that I'm okay with older people dying.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
There you go. So that's,
I mean, look at the money we saved on Social Security.
Well, now here, no. Again, we're going. You just want to close one rabbit hole.
Oh, poor grandpa died. Like, get over it already. Come on, And the saddest thing is so many mistakes were made, and I'm sure you would agree with this. Like, imagine like a teenager or a 20-year-old and their grandpa's dying from COVID in the year 2020, 2021, and they can't go say goodbye. They had to die alone. I mean, to me, that's vile. It is so ridiculously stupid that, we don't want to risk COVID spreading more, when the vast majority of the people dying were the elderly, and you can't even say goodbye to them. They died a horrible, lonely death. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
So just to summarize our conversation here, I think the conclusion on your end, I'm not subscribing to this, but if we let COVID just kill all the old people, it would have burned itself out and everybody would have been good. And then, you know what? We can get Social Security for the millennials.
Yes. And also, I would say that one could make the argument that by letting COVID Delta transmit faster, it would save lives in the long run, because it would have mutated faster into Omicron, which was less dangerous.
I think there is that is a very a stretch.
Okay, but hang on, Pete. Hang on. Let's say we had.
You're assuming, first of all, you're making the assumption that as the virus mutates, it's going to get weaker.
Well, you know how evolution works.
Does it get? It's the fittest. Whatever becomes the most fittest fittest doesn't
right.
mean
In order to be a fit virus, you don't want to kill your host.
No, you don't. But you can make them really, 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 really sick. And
sure.
Also, you don't need to kill them right away. You gotta, you just got to keep them alive long enough.
But I bet you don't disagree with me. Given what this is a big given, granted. But given that Omicron is less lethal than Delta, I bet you agree with me that by actually transmitting Delta faster, and you're sure you're going to have a huge wave of death, in the long run, you're going to save lives because it would have mutated faster to the Omicron, which was less deadly.
You could also make the argument that the more you vaccinate people, and as the vaccinated get infected, the virus is going to mutate even faster because it now has even more hurdles to overcome, and it would become even weaker in those settings.
Yeah. And then what happens to your immune system when you get vaccinated every 3 months?
I get vaccinated. Well, people aren't getting vaccinated every 3 months with COVID. That's not
Well,
happening
let's say every 6 months. What booster 1 to booster 2? What was the time frame between the two?
It's about a year.
A year? That long?
Yeah, it's more than 6 months.
Because
So
doesn't the
I get a flu shot every 6 months.
yeah? I thought COVID was the same.
No, so not every 6 months. Sorry, I get a flu shot every year.
Yeah, but the effectiveness of the COVID vaccine dropped greatly in 1 year.
The effectiveness of a flu shot drops dramatically in a
Right.
year also.
Actually, why are we guessing with this? We can look it up. Time difference between boosters. I think it was under a year, but maybe you're right.
I think it's over. It might have been under a year, but I think it's over 6 months.
What? 8-week interval? 3 months? No, I think I was right.
Wait, I think no. I think you're mixing up some things here.
Yeah, hang on.
There
Let me
are-
double check.
A booster is different from a new vaccination.
Oh, here we go. I think I found it. WHO suggests. Oh man, I can't read that. I think it says, as a general principle, an interval of 4 to 6 months between the first booster and between booster doses.
Oh, so you're getting terminology mixed here. There's a difference between boosters and a new vaccination. So for a lot of
I'm talking about boosters.
So a lot of initial vaccines, like polio has this for children as well, mumps, measles, all those. You get an initial dose, and then a few weeks later, like a month later or so, you get a second dose. And what that does is it induces a recall response to make sure that you have sustained high levels of antibodies against that virus. Now, if a new strain comes along, then that would be a new vaccine, quote unquote, new vaccine that would be given
Right.
a year afterwards.
Yeah.
So
So,
the
you would have to
booster-
wait to a new variant of
a new variant. So like the vaccines that are coming out for COVID now are for new variants. That's why you get like the bivalent vaccine. They encompass the newer variants that are coming out.
But to sum up, would you agree with my what we started this conversation with? If it were true that 1 in 800 people go to the hospital due to a serious adverse effect from COVID, if that were true, and if it were true that 1 in 30,000 kids go to the hospital from COVID, would you say it's worth giving kids under 20 the vaccine?
Again, the context matters, right? So it is
If
worth
those things were true, would you then say
but again, if this was a virus that's been around for 100 years, right?
May I ask why you don't want to answer that question?
No, because I'm going to answer it, but again, it requires context.
It's just math.
So no, but it's not that. It's not just math. It requires context and the public health burden. Okay, we had a virus that we had never seen before. The virus needed to be stopped before it really did a lot of damage before it could do any more damage. In those situations, you want to immunize as many people as possible.
Hang on. No, you can't just make a blanket statement like that. Let's say if it were true that 1 out of 2 people died from the vaccine, you wouldn't say that.
Right. No, the vaccine would never be approved. That
Right,
would not be
right. So there are limits. There are limits to that.
Of course, there are safety limitations, right?
Right.
But you're saying that is it even worth a person at a young age getting vaccinated if the chances of them going to the hospital with COVID is so low to begin with, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for an answer.
Yeah, and the answer is at the beginning of the pandemic, the vaccines were safe, were very safe, that the strategy of immunizing as many people as possible to slow the spread of the virus was the correct strategy.
At the beginning of the pandemic, when these vaccines were first, this is coming from Pfizer and Moderna, it's 1 in 800.
1 in 800. What?
Serious adverse effects.
Special, again, you're going to this special interest
Okay.
thing. We don't know what this is.
If it were true that this means what I say it means, that you go to the hospital.
Now, I want to give an example. There was a vaccine from, I think it was Novartis, which was not an mRNA vaccine, which did have a higher rate of like myocarditis and other serious adverse events. That vaccine was stopped and discontinued.
Okay. Hang on.
So-
I might lose you for 2 seconds, but you're going to come right back.
Yeah.
I'm going to open the room up for more people. Because Colby wants in really badly. Oh, maybe I did lose Pete.
Wait, mute myself.
Oh, no, he's here. He's here.
He's here.
Yeah.
I think you have to create a new metric. I think you have to create a metric called like.
Clear your throat.
Yeah, I was at a basketball game and I was yelling.
Oh, so your throat's just sore, not. Okay. Pete, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I think you have to create a metric called COVID spread above expected for vaccines, right? And if that measure that measure should let you compare like how many people are hospitalized because of the vaccines and how many people are hospitalized because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
And then you can compare those two measures, and you might be right.
That's what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing, Colby.
But you're not taking into account the degree in which vaccines reduce the COVID spread.
Yeah, but but here's what I'm saying. That it might not be bad to let it spread.
Yeah, because
You'll kill off all the
I
old
mean,
people and
maybe
you'll save Social Security from millennials.
No, because of
That's rationale.
no, because I'm not just considering death. I'm considering all health effects. So if by not vaccinating people under 20, under 30, and so forth, they are healthier. And sure, I get Pete's argument that they could spread a greater chance of spreading it to older people. And yes, some of those 5% of those older people will die. Overall, if you're making policy for the whole country, that might be the better option.
But you're also forgetting hospital. So in biowarfare, this is a lesson out of the biowarfare textbook. You never want to kill your enemy's population or soldiers. You just want to get them really, really sick, because that has more dramatic effect on the economy.
Yeah, but that supports my argument.
No. So say you let it go spread like crazy, right? That doesn't mean that people are not going to stop going to the hospital. Okay. You forget mortality. Mortality is irrelevant at that point, right? As long as if you let it go rapidly, of all age groups, you're going to flood your hospital system and you're going to collapse.
Right. But you're making an argument for me from what I'm saying. I'm saying that more people would go to the hospital through vaccination of people under 30 than if they were not vaccinated and they spread it to old people.
No, that is, if that was the case, we would be having so many people going to the hospital.
Because there's more people in the country under 75 than over 75. That's my point. If you run the numbers.
No, but that's why I'm saying you need my metric, because you can't compare, like you can't directly compare those because you don't know how many like old people are not going to the hospital because people have gotten vaccines and they haven't gotten it. Because if we did what you are saying, Doug, you're gonna have you're gonna have all the old people in the hospital at once and everything collapses. Like that was a strategy. It was like get people.
That's what was happening in the beginning. Like there was no treatment for COVID. I live in New York. The New York healthcare system was on the verge of complete collapse because the virus was spreading unmitigatedly.
Yeah, but then that kind of subsided like towards the end of 2021
because we started putting we shut everything down. People weren't going to work, right?
But maybe the vaccine was why. Like
no, the vaccine didn't come out until let's say March or
April
of 2022.
2021.
No, 21.
Oh, sorry,
March-
2021. Yeah, I'm talking about 2020 to 2021. It died down in 2020 because of what Pete said, and then my wife's a teacher, and she was one of the first to get the vaccine. I think it was February of 2021.
You know how I got the vaccine, Doug?
How?
I was working for the University of Florida baseball stadium as an usher, and that made me an essential employee because I was an employee of the university. And so I got like that teacher exemption to go get it.
Okay, well, this was fun. I got like a whole other bunch of topics I want to talk about other than this.
Oh, wait, I had one more question.
Yeah.
What do you think about like, so for me, I got the vaccine because I was sick of like the rules. I was tired of like, having to get tested every 2 weeks and worrying about like, if I was in contact with someone, everyone got COVID. It's like, if I'm in contact, I gotta like lock myself down. What do you think about that?
So
Well,
using
yeah,
the
that's a
vaccine
practical
to
reason. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Peace.
Pete, before you go, and you can stay here too, Colby. I brought up that study from Finland on that masks didn't help for kids in schools. Where is that?
I bet that's true.
Remember, Pete, how that big argument we got in on Zoom a long time ago? Michael was there. We were talking about masks. And I made the comment that I think it was stupid for kids to have masks in schools. Remember that?
Yeah, I guess we've had a lot of heated discussions over the years. So.
Kids can't even walk in a straight line, much less keep a mask on all day. So
yeah, it turns out I was right.
Well, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I think there's a huge number of variables when it comes to masks, the type of masks, how it's being worn, all that stuff. So it's, I think, again, we have to remind ourselves, we do not live in a perfect world. And given the circumstances and the novelty of the situation, we try and do the best that we can do, right? And in a situation like this, the immediate thing is to just mask everybody up, because at that point you have to make a quick decision as to what are the possible things that can limit the spread of this virus.
Yeah, I just think some people are more scared to death than other people.
It's very well, I know people like that too, and they're not here anymore because they weren't scared to death.
They're in a better place.
They're with Myron and his wife, right, or whatever analogy you use for Jesus these days. You still making bets that Biden is going to drop out of the race?
No, I'm not making bets on that. I still.
You wanted to bet me money the other day that Biden was going to get kicked out of the race.
But I remember I said I wanted 2-1.
What was the other?
The other bet that is even money I've taken with several people already is that if it's Biden versus Trump, Trump will beat Biden. In fact, with Colby, we have that bet, right? Me and you.
Yeah, we should put it in email somewhere.
Do you want to buy out, or are you still?
No, I'll stay in.
You still think Biden will beat Trump?
Yeah, on a 1-on-1, I think Biden will win. It's so hard to beat an incumbent. Like, I know in the polls, everyone's like, but
I think, Doug, one thing you forget is that when it comes closer towards election day, a lot of people are going to have the gun to their head feeling, and the option is going to be Trump or Biden.
Yeah.
And the anxiety against Trump is going to be so great that it's going to force people to vote for Biden.
No, I disagree. I actually, one of the biggest reasons why I think Trump is going to beat Biden is because of African Americans.
No, wait. You screwed me out of this bet. I was going to steal so much of Rick's money. And you were like, no, you should not do that.
African Americans are going to decide this election. And I think usually it's in the last election, 88% of African Americans voted for Biden. And I think that's going to drop down to the low 80s.
I think the only way Biden loses,
that alone is going to make Trump win.
The only way Biden loses is not by Trump taking votes from him, is by people not voting. So if there's increased apathy towards Biden, then things can get really close there.
Oh yeah, and that apathy, the poll numbers are really against him. This is why Colby, I'm surprised you don't want to buy out of the bet.
I just think as we get closer to election season, a little bit of what Pete is saying will be true, and it's just so hard to beat an incumbent. Like I think I'm like
Even
I think I'm
a dead
60-40.
incumbent. I mean,
What do you say?
Biden's basically dead.
He's not yet. No, and I think you have a point. Like I think I'm 60-40 in this bet, but I'll take that.
Well, then you should buy out.
No, 60-40 is great odds.
Give me $50 and
we'll
we'll call it even.
We're 1-1, right? We're
Yeah.
1-1.
Yeah.
Then 60-40, I'll take that all day.
Well, you're 60. You think 60% chance I'm going to win?
No, 60% chance I'm gonna win.
Oh, okay. No, you're going to lose.
I think it's closer to probably 55-45, but that's.
If
I
it's
think it's going to be closer.
1 to 49.9.
Yeah, and it's going to be closer than the last election, but I think the thing that could really screw things up is, especially with the whole like Israeli Gaza thing. I know a lot of like Muslim Americans are reconsidering supporting Biden and stuff.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of apathy against Biden, also we don't know, younger voters, with not getting student loan forgiveness and stuff like that. There, if there's enough apathy there to dissuade people from going to the polls, then I can see a situation where Trump has a chance of winning. But I don't see a situation where Biden voters are converting to Trump voters.
No, they're not going to convert to Trump, but they, like you said, they're not either not going to vote or they're going to vote for someone else.
The Supreme Court's going to put a big old knife in Trump's back, and
really, you think so?
Well, that'll be, after tonight, if Haley loses tonight, I think she drops out of the race. Trump is the de facto Republican nominee. What the Supreme Court says after that, if they, rule against him, that really jolts the system big time. And then how we navigate it through that is going to be a big conundrum.
I think definitely the vast majority of the country doesn't want either of them.
No, the polls definitely do not show that people do not want another Trump-Biden race. That's not a debate. But I do not think it's I think there's still a very big uphill battle for Trump. I can see some paths to which he can, but a lot of it depends on, the gun to the head feeling when election day comes and people start all of a sudden remember, their short-term memory starts to go away and they remember what we were going through.
But I got to press you on this, Pete, because last time when we talked privately, I asked you, what are your fears if Trump wins? And the closest you got to answering that is something about he's going to pick his own people and it's going to be more authoritarian. But there's no meat on that bone. Like, be specific. What are you really scared of?
Well, let's just take a look at international politics, right? He's very isolationist, right? So
why does that scare you? Like, be specific. What's the crux of this?
Right. So, doing things like pulling us out of NATO could have serious implications for the world order. And I don't think
the new world order.
No, not the new world order. The world order, right? So,
okay, but be specific. Like, you think if Trump wins, pulls out of NATO, that Russia's going to take over Europe? Is that what you're getting at?
It's not going to happen. No, people think, it's going to happen overnight. Putin's going to run through and stuff like that. But it definitely emboldens Russia. It emboldens China as well.
To do what?
It gives China, if the U.S. is backing out of alliances, it gives China more reason to want to push taking over Taiwan.
They already own Taiwan, basically.
Yeah, well, it's a little more complicated than that, but Taiwan is a very important asset to American economic power. I mean, they're a huge chips manufacturer for the world.
But is what I said basically your fear internationally, that if Trump wins, you're just scared that other countries don't have protection from the big mighty US, and so bad countries like Russia and China are going to want to take them over?
I mean, there's one aspect that bad actors have more of a leg.
Like, do you really think China wants to take over countries in Europe and Africa, or Russia really wants to take over countries in?
No one said China is going to take over Africa or Europe.
Well, what about Russia? Do you think Putin actually wants to have France?
No, it's not. No, you're taking it to an extreme. And another, the Soviet Union did never stretch out.
Yeah. Do you think they'll want the Soviet Union back?
Yeah,
I think Putin does have a lot of these countries in Eastern Europe have what's called the big idea, and there's one for each of them. Greece has one, Albania has one, Serbia has one, and essentially it's like a restoration of those countries to their prime state in history. So, like in Greece, there was it was called the big idea to resurrect Byzantium. Serbia has had an idea to resurrect Greater Yugoslavia. The same is true for Russia and resurrecting the old Soviet Union. These are ideas that are known and they're out there.
It's like us in Mexico.
Yeah, exactly.
The United States should take over Mexico, fix it up, and then flip it to Canada.
Yeah, but I think the other thing though is
American sandwich.
The biggest thing with Trump though is it's the erosion of democratic norms.
Okay,
right? This is the guy is not a proponent of democracy. And there's no disputing that.
I dispute it.
You think that he's a supporter of democracy? That he's out there touting the benefits of democracy?
Yeah.
Even after January 6th?
Yeah.
Really, Doug?
Yeah.
There was a free and fair election, which he
didn't believe it was.
Exactly.
Right.
Well,
he doesn't care.
You think that? You think Trump really didn't believe it was free and fair?
Yeah. I really think he really believed that. I
disagree.
Yeah, he had everybody, even the crazies, telling him that this was.
Yeah, but he's a narcissist.
Right, but
do you think he's going to listen to his buddies?
It doesn't matter if he's a narcissist. He can still be a narcissist and act on the opposite of what he knows is true.
If you were to get Trump really drunk, and then ask him, "Hey, what's your preference? Democracy or communism or fascism?" What do you think he'd say?
If you got Trump drunk and you asked him, "Was the election rigged?" I think he would double down even more than his current position on it.
Which shows that he truly believed it. Then
no, that is not evidence for him knowing the facts or not of the case.
No, we're talking about beliefs.
Right, beliefs and facts are the two different things.
Right.
He can say one thing, but I'm talking about believing and knowing, right? I think he knows that he lost the election. The reason I think he knows he lost the election is because since he knows that, he has to double down on his stolen election claim in order to continue to perpetuate his position.
Which is?
Because the second he says that I did lose it, it is completely counter to his image of himself, that then he's conceding that he is a loser at the end of the day, and he never wants to be viewed as a loser. But he knows that he was a loser. He just can't concede to being a loser. It's like me saying, I'm a tall guy, but let's say I'm 5 foot tall, and I'm going to go around and say, I'm 6 foot. No one's going to say, no, you're 5 foot. No, I believe I'm 6. I believe I'm 6, and someone can take a tape measure and put it up to me and says, no, the tape measure only comes up to 5 feet. It doesn't matter. I say I'm 6. I'm saying, so that you are 5 foot tall. The evidence is so clear as day. You can see it with your own eyes. But because you're saying something else doesn't mean that you actually believe that you're really 6 feet tall. You're just saying it because you can't come to the terms.
I would love to apply everything you just said to trans people.
But this is not.
But okay. Given all that, let's say I say, okay, you're right about everything you just said, Pete. What again is your fear? Okay, your fear is what democracy is going to go away and we're going to go a dictatorship.
Erosion of democratic norms. Okay, we cannot.
Okay, but why? These are just like words that. Where's your fear? What exactly is going to happen?
A country is not stable in which every election is thrown.
Okay, but be specific. What do you mean by not stable? What do you think is going to happen if Trump wins?
He's going to perpetuate the behaviors that led to things like a January 6th.
Okay, there you go. So you think that if Trump wins, there's going to be more January 6ths?
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Okay, but if he wins, he's already in power. Why would there be a January 6th?
Yeah, but what if there's something else that there's three branches of government, right? Let's say the Congress wants to do something to, limit Trump's power or authority. You don't think that the same impetus that drove people to storm Congress? I mean, again,
okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting
some sort of sentiment like that.
So are you saying that if Trump wins and he doesn't get his way, let's say the Supreme Court blocks him for some reason, are you saying he's going to get his minions to storm the Supreme Court?
A hypothetical situation like that is not as far-fetched as it would have been.
No, I'm asking your fears if Trump wins. Is this one of your fears?
I'm saying those types of scenarios are not as far-fetched. And that, there's going to be more political...
you think it's over 50% chance that will happen? 30% chance?
I think the percent chance of something like that happen is far greater than it was 20 years ago. I don't know. I'm not going to put a number on it, but I think it's significant.
But is this a real fear for you?
Sure. Why wouldn't it be? Didn't we all see what happened on January 6th? I mean,
I would agree with that.
I don't think January 6th was that bad.
I know you don't. You think that because someone was covered from head to toe, that identifies them as a leftist. I mean, come on. We had this debate last time, Doug. I mean,
I think for me, my biggest fear is that the necessary separations within our democracy will become more and more melded.
Yeah.
What will be melded?
The necessary separations of powers within our democracy.
Yeah, I don't.
Baby's waking up. I gotta go.
Okay, see you, Pete.
Yeah.
I think the reason why people who think January 6th is really, really bad are basically people on the left who hate Trump, and so their political biases or whatever almost forces them to make January 6th worse than it was. And the same holds true for people on the far right who think that it was absolutely nothing. Like, I still say it was bad, but not that bad, especially when you start comparing to other things in U.S. history.
What do you mean by that, Doug? What is that?
I said this long before it was popular, even before other people started saying it. About a year and a half ago, I think I said things like, if you're using metrics like death, how many people died? January 6th was not that bad. If you look at property damage, another metric, how many billions of dollars of property? Yeah, not that bad. Now, so the smart people on the left, they will concede this, but they'll say things like, but it's really bad because of what it means for our democracy.
Yes, I would agree with that too.
Yeah. And noted, I think that's probably the best reason you can give. Of course, some people. No, of course.
That's the only reason.
Well, no, some people died. Some people died, right? So
that's a pin drop. People died during leftist things too, like in history.
Yeah. But the reason why I don't share that fear and concern about what Pete was saying about the pushing of the lowering of democracy is because I do have more faith, I think, in the Constitution than he does. And maybe even you, Colby, that no, I don't think the three branches of government is going to dissolve. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't either. But to Pete's point, for me, it's more likely a really bad scenario like that happens under Trump than under Biden or under even Kamala Harris or Nikki Haley.
I don't think would happen with either of them.
Yeah, but you say it's 0% then under Trump?
No. It's It's never zero. It's
Right,
like,
over 0. So
yeah,
where would you put it? Just ballparking.
I don't know, 0.1%.
Okay, what would you put it under Biden? Same, 0.1.
Yeah, it's like so negligible.
I would probably put it higher. Like a complete collapse, I agree. Like America dissolving because Trump being president is, yeah, it's probably about, it might be higher than 0.1, but probably not much higher. But like bad things, in my view, happening, I would put higher than 0.1. And I
Like-
would make it lower. on
Like,
Biden.
you know, when Trump said, I'll be a dictator for a day.
Yeah, he was probably joking.
Yeah. The thing is, there are people on the left who like seriously get freaked out about that sort of thing. I'll play it here.
Yes, but Biden has never said that.
I know. But I actually think a guy like Trump says that on purpose just to cause
Of
mental
course.
just to cause mental anguish in people on the left.
98%, you're right.
And
But
so
2%, he means it. In my view.
I'm gonna play it here for people on the left and
Please do.
ask yourself. It's only 40 seconds long, and I'm gonna ask you: do you think Trump is being partly facetious here or not? Let me see here, and you won't be able to hear it, but Colby, but everybody else will be able to.
Yeah, all good. All good.
Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight, you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
for?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not that's
drill.
that's not
No, no.
that's not retribution. I got
I'm
it.
gonna be, you know, he keeps, we love this guy. He says, you're not gonna be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator,
So that,
okay?
that sounds to me like
Yeah,
going
like-
back to the policy.
So for people on the left who actually think that, I don't get them. I don't understand.
All right, I was listening to the clip. Repeat that.
I was just saying, like, for people on the left who think that this is some serious fear that they should have, that he admitted that he's going to be a dictator on day one. I just don't get that fear. Like, it's pretty obvious he's just using rhetoric here.
Right, but for me, like, do I want a president who bullshits, or do I want a president who
He's more dignified.
more dignified? Because we
Yeah.
talked about this at poker. For me, the president is, in a lot of cases, a spokesperson for the United States and what we represent. And the president, yeah, has a good deal of power. Obviously, has nuclear codes and like could end the world. But for the most part, right? Like the president is a face. He represents us at things, or she represents us at things, and like. So for me, when I'm thinking about, okay, who do I want my president to be? Like, I do take that into consideration. I decided to vote for Biden in 2020 at his second debate with Trump, when Trump just like, you remember that debate? Did you watch it, Doug?
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah,
Trump was
you know,
right when he talked about Biden's son,
I'm sure he was.
and
I don't really care.
Biden said,
Hunter Biden.
"Not true, not true." It turns out Trump was right. And there's a CNN clip of a CNN reporter admitting, "Yeah, Trump was right."
I bet he was.
What's your stance on
it's
climate
bad.
change?
What do you say?
What's your stance on climate change? Let's shift topics.
I'm very pro climate change.
You want the Earth to get warmer?
That's Florida. If everyone was like Florida, we wouldn't have so many people moving here. No, I think it's a big deal.
You do?
Yeah, especially for Southeast Asian countries, and probably not a huge deal for the U.S. But the only way to fix it is either going as nuclear as possible or
Yeah.
finding an alternative energy source. That's the only way.
Because my guess is this will come up tonight when I have this informal debate, and I'm.
You have a debate?
Yeah, tonight at 7. Mountain. Some very popular YouTuber. I forget his name. It's like
I will not listen to
150,000 subscribers. But
Oh,
but yeah, so with climate change, I've been asked, like, Doug, what would you suggest to help? And I think nuclear is definitely
Yeah.
the way you have to go.
Do you believe climate change as defined by most scientists is like legit, is happening?
Yeah.
Okay. You believe it's a big deal for Southeast Asian countries?
A big deal.
Yeah. Like, do you think it'll negatively impact the lives of
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it's something that should require global cooperation?
Maybe, depending on what you mean by that. Like,
Yeah.
if it means like to make rich countries poorer and poor countries richer, like basically a massive wealth transfer to the efficient countries to the inefficient.
No,
I know Nathan's listening right now, and I'm basically chastising poor countries. But
well, that's the thing. Everyone thinks, or not everyone, but a lot of people think like, it's the U.S. or China or whoever the big.
It's always U.S.'s fault.
It's always U.S.'s fault.
UK's fault. It's
guess
always
what?
because we're the ones who demand cheap clothing from these poor countries, and so even if they do produce a lot of greenhouse gas, ultimately it's our fault. It's always our fault.
These poor developing countries are going to start having demands for power as they get richer, and they're not going to be building solar panels. They're going to be burning coal.
You know what's a better solution to climate change other than nuclear? There's a correct answer.
Doesn't wipe out millions of people.
No, that's on the table.
I'd be against that one.
But basically, less humans. Less humans.
Genocide is a climate change solution.
What's very interesting about nature is it has a way of fixing itself. And the way the planet's going to fix itself is to kill off half the population.
Yeah, let's try to avoid that if we can. Let's try.
Well, it might not be. I mean, like I'm more fearful of Yellowstone National Park than I am climate change, and I'm telling. This is the truth. I'm not using hyperbole here. Like that park has been groaning for centuries. Groaning.
Well, it'd be like a nuke, right? Like if it went off, it'd be like
we would be in a global winter for decades if that thing went off, and probably most of the U.S. would die almost instantly. I mean, and there's almost nothing we can do to stop it.
What would we do? Go to Mars?
I don't know. Maybe you could stick some type of big pipe down there and release the pressure slowly. I don't know, but I like with climate change. Like 2023 was the hottest year on record, but it took 7 years for it to reach a new high. Like 7 years to reach a new high. We have time to react to climate change. We don't have time if a big rock is heading our way and going to hit the planet, or if Yellowstone like gives indications it's about to blow. Like it's just, and that's
you saw what happened in that one area of Iceland, right? Where the volcano.
Was that where half the mountain just kind of slid down, or is that?
I think so. And there's lava everywhere, and it like engulfed full towns, and there's nothing they could do. And Yellowstone would obviously be much worse.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, I should go. I have things to do.
Okay. Thanks for hopping on.
As always.
See ya. But I got some tabs open for tonight. Ask this guy. If climate change does come up, I'll ask him about wildfires and hurricanes. I bet you most people on the left think that wildfires have gone up because of climate change and hurricanes have gone up because of climate change, which are both, in the US anyhow, both false. And I got the data to prove it. Actually, I changed somebody's mind yesterday on climate change in... Nathan, are you still here? No, it was in the Street Epistemology Discord. I asked him, what's one of your biggest fears about climate change? And the first thing that he said was food production. Won't be enough food, famines. And then about 15 minutes later or so, I asked him, can he name anything positive about climate change? And he mentioned Russia, that they'll be warmer and maybe could produce more crops. I said, wait a minute, remember just what you said earlier? You're worried about less food, but now you're admitting one of the positive things about climate change is more food for the two biggest countries on the planet, Canada and Russia. And he goes, huh. And I said, gotta go. Will I be streaming the debate? Good question. Maybe. I don't know if PF Young would like that. I could ask permission, I guess. It's on his channel. Maybe we give him the views. He's a young kid and just needs to start in life. But yeah, any person who's serious about climate change and refuses nuclear energy, they've lost my respect. They probably didn't have in the first place, but. I'm okay with solar, but I don't think it should be subsidized. It should be able to stand on its own. I'm okay with wind, but less so than solar. But nuclear, less people. Am I thinking about buying a bunker underground? No. Would you let Trump babysit my kids? I would let Trump babysit my kids before Biden. Have you ever seen him sniff children? Biden's like a dog with a bone when it comes to kids. It's like sniffing their hairs and butts. No, not butts, but I wouldn't trust any old strange men to babysit my kids. What do you think should be subsidized? Anything? Very little. I'm a right winger and I'm against farm subsidies. I think farmers should go bankrupt like any other company. The other day I made a plot of fires started in the US, the number of forest fires over many decades. Let's see if I can make this come up. Yeah, it worked. From 1985 to 2020. It's basically flat, maybe a little bit down when you use the regression. So if you lean left and you're concerned about climate change, don't use forest fires as an argument. Don't do it. You'll get caught. Farm subsidies suck for sure, but they give them to control them. I don't know if it's to control them. I think there's feel sorry for them even for farmers. The concept of the traditional farm is sort of like apple pie and baseball in the United States. Yeah, Uber, I recently read that too. That I wonder if Shannon Q blamed those forest fires on the East Coast on climate change, and then now we find out it's arson. So don't use fires. Don't use hurricanes. In fact, hurricanes especially can really backfire, because there's some evidence that hurricanes get less with climate change, not more. Because the discrepancy in air currents across the globe homogenize more. Did you guys know that? Fun fact. Hydrogen energy. A byproduct of manufacturing graphene from plastics. That sounds like fun. Take all the recyclable plastics, make hydrogen out of it, hydrogen gas, and then burn it. The problem with hydrogen gas is just so plain, so it's like way more dangerous than nuclear. If you're talking about hydrogen powered cars. Have you guys ever filled up a balloon with hydrogen gas and then put a flame to it? It goes kaboom. Big kaboom. That was my opening demonstration when I used to teach chemistry in university. I would have a hydrogen balloon in red and then an oxygen balloon in white. Put them side by side. Both. I can't believe I did this. So a balloon about this big on long strings. Then I had a meter stick, a yardstick for Americans. And I put taped a candle at the end. And then I put the candle in between the two balloons. Oh. Now you can understand how those rockets get into space. Like the whole huge 100, 200 seat auditorium, the whole auditorium just shook. Nuclear is the way. On this we agree. People are irrational about nuclear energy. Yeah, it's irrational fears. Like you can set up nuclear power plants away from people. Just use a lot of wire to move the electricity. In fact, I like clean air. I like to breathe clean air. If we can use nuclear energy to recharge electric cars, I mean, that's cheaper than fossil fuels. How can anybody argue against that? But I will say, I think you're still hard pressed to have electric for everything. Like try to get a Boeing 747 off the ground with electric. Is this the Matt I know?
Hello?
Hi. No, this is not the Matt I know.
Oh. Hey, Doug, how are you?
I'm doing well. You sound Australian or South African?
Yeah, Aussie, yeah.
You're on Aussie. Okay.
Hey, I just, this is an ignorance thing. The volume's not great, but I was just wondering, do you see an issue with nuclear when it comes to, like, if there's a war or if people can't, like, maintain the equipment?
You mean if there's I see. If there's nobody there to take care of the nuclear power plants?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is I can see an issue there. But again, I think even with what happened in Russia, like if you build the nuclear power plants, I don't know, let's say 50 to 100 miles away from populated areas, even if it does blow, It's not going to be that big of a deal. Just pour a bunch of sand on it and you're done.
Do you think that would? Because isn't the way that the power plants work is that it's like effectively multiple nuclear bombs going off over and over again. We're just harnessing the energy from it.
No, not at all. Nuclear bombs is when you use fission or to cause fusion, or just fission to cause more fission. This is just beta particles being given off, or different alpha particles given off by isotopes, which has energy that causes water to boil. A nuclear power plant's not like a nuclear bomb.
Oh, okay. All right. That's
So yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, okay. Because that's always been in the back of my mind as to why we shouldn't be doing it. But that's, as I started with it, it's an ignorance thing. I just have no idea how it actually works.
Yeah. And I just noticed this meeting will end because I had it set to 100 people. So question is, did I lose my oh yeah, this is a bug in Whereby. Let's see if I can bypass the bug. Maybe not. Oh well. Yeah, it's a controlled reaction, Vinny. Yep, you're right. My dog needs to go outside. I'm going to play something here, come back. Then I'll take questions from the chat and wrap things up. What do you guys want to watch? Let's go here, here. Oh. Yeah, no, I better not play that. I get too many people mad at me. And I just want to be loved. Oh, I'll play this. Yeah, I want to talk about this. Mythvision Derek. I've been listening for... yeah. I got something to say about this, I'm sure. Okay, I'll be right back. I don't know how long, maybe 45 minutes. One thing I want to say about this is it's interesting that some, if not most, of critical race theory proponents will say that all white people are racist.
All right, yeah.
And so really, Derek is a racist and Bob's a racist. The only difference is, I guess, Bob, you're a little more insensitive than Derek, but you're both racists. And one thing I also noticed that because Bob said some insensitive racist things, and Derek is also a racist, he commanded that Bob apologize. But hasn't Derek said many insensitive things to or about Christianity?
Oh, yeah.
Should we apologize to Christians today for what we truly believe? Like, Bob, you said that you don't even believe Jesus existed, right? The odds are he... I mean, that's a very insensitive thing to say. I can't believe you said that. Boils down to the critical race theory or critical theory in general that if you are an oppressed minority, you can't criticize. Mm. But if you're a Christian in a 65% Christian nation, then feel free, go ahead. The hypocrisy is just so thick.
Mm.
They don't understand they become a new religion in and of itself.
Yeah, and I believe that as well, and I think we all probably know why. It's when you leave religion, especially, you got to fill that hole. Mm-hmm. And where are you going to get your hope, meaning, and purpose from? And I think for a lot of atheists in the United States, at least, who are ex-Christian, they fill it with this, what I call feel sorry forism. It's like, I am a good person now because I feel sorry for the oppressed minorities. Even though they might be wrong, we can't say it out loud on certain things. Specific individuals might be wrong. Yeah, and so like when Bob mentioned, made that thug comment, I remember when I interviewed Derek about this, Bob would say that if you're completely white and you're smashing windows open at a store and stealing stuff, you are a thug. Right, Bob?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Now, would Derek say you're a bad and sensitive person if you said that publicly? Probably not. But he's a hypocrite because if a black person does it, then, and you use the word thug, then that's bad. Oh boy, I came in the right spot. Yeah. So I called Derek from Mythvision a hypocrite for, he asked Bob to at least apologize for what appeared to be insensitive talk to people, to black people, I guess. And if once we're going down the road of apologizing for what appears to be insensitive, I mean, then where do you stop? And so this is my point with religion. There's many things I've said, and I'm sure that Derek has said, that could at least can appear to be insensitive to Christians, to Muslims, to Jews. And yet I don't think he would need to apologize for it. Right? But there's something, this is what I call woke, is when you feel sorry for the oppressed, so much so that it stops you from potentially saying things that are true. Like a particular individual who has dark skin is indeed a thug. Horrible, rotten guy. But we can't blame him because it's systemic racism that's cultured him to be the person he is today. Like that's the way they go. And this is a problem, in my opinion. We need to stop that. No matter what color skin you have, if you do thuggish behavior, you're a thug. And I saw he was on Nathan's channel the other day and showing that Bob Price is bad or racist, maybe, because he's hanging out with other races. But then he mentioned anti-Semitic stuff. Some people don't even view Jews as a race, just as a culture, as an ethnicity, not a race. So I don't know how that would make Bob a racist, even if birds of a feather do flock together. So I don't know. I do think it's a lot of feel sorry forism. Still doesn't work. Yeah, politics is definitely a new religion. I think more specifically things like certain types of politics like secular humanism. Yeah, it's really tough to leave religion and not replace it with something else. No, Derek's not writing the Bob Price thing. It's other people writing it. And I was invited to come on a show, give my 2 cents, because I had started the whole mess, in a way. By interviewing Bob Price and then interviewing Derek later. But it gets to the point that's so nonsensical to me. It gets to the point where I'm a contrarian by nature, But I want to just say, okay, Bob's a racist. Now what? So what? He makes people feel bad. Is he out killing people? No. Is he out inciting violence to other people? No. All he's doing is making you feel icky. Oh, he's a racist. It makes me feel icky. Well, feel icky. Like, life is tough. Grow up. There's always going to be reasons why people don't like you or don't like another group of people. Like, I think most people would agree with me that Bob's not out killing people. He's not telling other people to kill or injure people. Like, Bob does have very strong opinions, and he has said things in the past, I think. Yeah, he's written papers or articles on how the family unit has broken down in some of the African American culture. And I agree with this. Like, you just look at the statistics. A certain part of the African American culture where the fatherless homes is so high, I can come out and say, that sucks. That's a sucky culture. That's bad. But it's really hard for people on the left to, like, condemn a person because, oh, they're black, you can't condemn them. Can't be their fault. No. Like, that's the real racism, when you can't call it for what it is, bad personal choices, because they're of a certain skin color. Like, if that's not racism, I don't know what is. Awesome clips. Lots of people think we will blank out into nothingness after death. Yeah, that's me. Is it reasonable to think we will wake up again? No, it's not reasonable at all. Considering we are batting 1,000% at waking up this far. No, we're not batting 1,000% at waking up this after death. I think we're batting 0%. Well, definitely after 3 days, we're batting 0%. Right? Is there any verified cases of people being dead for 3 days or more and waking up? I don't think so. Oh, I should say, off topic, if you haven't watched the Jim Carrey documentary on Netflix on when he played Andy Kaufman using method acting and how basically it screwed him up for the rest of his life, watch it. It's not a feel-good documentary, not at all. But, oh my goodness, Jim Carrey method acting from the time he woke up to the time he went to bed, Andy Kaufman and Andy Kaufman's alter ego, what was his alter ego's name? It slips my mind right now. I mean, it just screwed him up after the movie was done. He didn't know who he was anymore. Remember Jim Carrey talking about nothingness and nothing matters anymore? That happened after the making of that movie. And so there's behind the scenes footage of Jim Carrey doing this method acting, like, and just causing people to cry, like the hairstylists and stuff, just. And even the scene where he fights Jim Lawler, is that his name? And they were going to put a stunt double in, so they did. But then after the cameras said cut, his cameras were still rolling. He actually got this professional wrestler so mad at him that he actually did hurt Jim Carrey, who was playing Andy Kaufman, and was on the real news going to the hospital. Like, he spat in his face. I mean, and Dave Chappelle's latest special, he even mentions visiting Jim Carrey and being disappointed because he actually didn't get to visit Jim Carrey because he was on the set of the making of Man on the Moon, where he was method acting, and so he actually met Andy Kaufman. Yeah, amazing. Jim Carrey hired people to film that whole production behind the scenes. Then Universal Studios told him he could not publish it because if he did, they were scared that it would make Jim Carrey look so much like an asshole that nobody would want to see Man on the Moon, and it would hurt their revenue chances. But I think they put a 20-year time limit on. So the 20 years went by, and so then he could publish this documentary on Netflix. Netflix should be paying me here. Do you believe we put a man on the moon? Yes, David. David. Yes, I do believe we went on the moon. Pretty amazing, eh? Eh? What's your opinion on the massive documented volume of miracles from Craig Keener? It's just a bunch of stories, anecdotal stories that are not verified. If they were verified, then you'd have something scientifically verified. Mr. Universe, you're speaking rubbish. You sound like a pantheist to me, and I hate pantheists. Do I think biblical scholars that put pressure on Derek do so because of personal standards or the standards of their benefactors? I don't think. I think it's a culture in academia to feel sorry for certain oppressed, in quotes, people. And it gives them a sense of, I am a good person, I am moral, I am looking out for the world and society. So I cannot associate myself to anyone who might appear racist, lest I degrade myself and how good of a person I am. I think that's what it's all about. People in academia are really full of themselves at times. Did I see Lauren Chen's interview with Carl Benjamin? No. Regarding conspiracies, the origin of COVID. Yeah, COVID clearly came from a lab in China. That's the thing. It's like, to think that's improbable, you just have to be stupid to think that's improbable. It's probable that's where it came from. Who do you consider the best good person? The best good person. My plumber. Will you join my pantheist church? No, I will not. I know who's not the best good people, and those are pantheists. Pantheists are weak, spineless jellyfish of humans who their desperation is oozing out of their pores to find hope, meaning, and purpose. So they think everything is God and just blah, give me a hug, trees, granola. I'm trying to get Whereby back up. Oh, it worked. Hang on. Machine Gun Jesus, hang on. Let me change the room to 1 or 2 people. I'm going to lose you for a second, but you'll be back. Was it Sean again? What was Sean's problem? What's your problem, Sean? Am I right? Is it Sean? Yeah, it is you. Well, I can't hear you though. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now I can. What's with the bad? Or is this like is Thanos? Are you disappearing on me?
Can you hear me or not?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So, do you seriously think that wait, hold on, I've got something else going on, Doug. Bullshit.
Amateur move. Like if you're gonna call into my channel, turn your YouTube thing off. Be a professional. Shave your beard.
Okay, is that it? Did I get it?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I'm usually not on the computer when I do this. So this is the reason. Excuse me, Sarah got me sick, so I've been a little.
You got the COVIDs? You got the COVIDs?
Probably.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
But do you honestly think that Biden and Trump are not cognitively similar?
No, I mean they're not similar.
You don't think they're both old as dirt, slow when it comes to their thinking? I mean, do you listen to Trump at all, like at his rallies or when he gives any kind of?
You can take the worst of Biden and the worst of Trump, put them side by side, and I think any reasonable person would say Biden wins the stupid prize. And you can take the best of Biden and the best of Trump, and you would say, oh yeah, those guys are both with it. They have good days, they have bad days, but Biden's bad days, like you just have to be a partisan political hack to not see that Biden's losing it faster than Trump.
I guess that's where we may disagree. Is I just think they're both cognitively incompetent to hold the position, right? I'm always going to vote Biden over Trump because I'm not a fan of Trump. I don't think we get nothing done. Again, like he puts everything on hold so he can chase like vendettas and money and all of the
blah 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 blah.
That he likes.
Trump,
yeah, that is blah.
Orange man, bad.
But the same thing. You're Biden's bad, right?
No, so I don't say that.
Yeah, you do. That's all you say.
I disagree with Biden's policies. I don't think he's fit for office. I have said that, but I don't think he's an evil man. Although more evidence is coming out that maybe he is.
So what's Trump running on though? So if it's all about policies, what are Trump's policies that you like?
Immigration,
apart from like the border. Yep.
Yeah, immigration. What else? Only 2 genders. A policy of not teaching multiple genders in schools. I know this is a big deal to me. Don't laugh. I mean, it's important to me. I want trans people to be sad in elementary schools. It shouldn't be taught, that sort of thing.
Wait, they shouldn't be taught, or the gender shouldn't be taught? Are you saying we shouldn't teach trans children? Like they should kick them out of school?
No. I'm saying that the concepts of more than 2 genders shouldn't be taught.
Yeah, do you not believe we should teach kids sex ed either?
Depending on the age, like K through 4? Probably not.
I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but yeah, 6. I don't necessarily think the younger needs to either. But at some point, I think we need to teach kids about sex. Otherwise, we don't move the bar as far as like a lot
But
of
no,
our issues in America go.
no, I think that should be left for junior high at least. And then again, I don't think concepts like pushing an agenda of maybe you're non-binary, Billy. Maybe you're trans, Sarah.
And you think this happens in school often?
I didn't say anything about that, about the frequency. I'm just saying, even if it happens 0, I want it to stay 0.
Yeah, I can't speak to it because honestly, I don't know anything about it or what.
If that causes
what
trans
policy.
people or queer people to cry, then cry your eyes out. Don't care.
So how do they address it? So how do you think a school should address, let's say if they're having sex ed classes in 8th grade, 7th grade, junior high, and you have children that like the same sex, or you have children that say, like, I've always felt like I've been trapped in another body. How do you think
sex ed should be clinical? It should be basically the sex ed I had.
Home? I mean,
the way I was taught about sex in school was, very clinical. Here's an egg, here's the sperm hits the egg, and this is how we get babies, and that sort of thing. But once you start saying, hey, here's a nice dildo that you can masturbate with, and you don't.
What school's pulling out dildos? That's what I'm asking. Like, who's teaching what? Like when
I'm
you
being
talk
hyperbolic.
About, like, this nefarious, right? But that's what I'm saying. Like, who's teaching?
I actually think I could pull up a high school class that had that. Seriously, I'm not joking. But you're sick. You need to rest up.
As far as an outlier, though, sure. Like, we can find all kinds of schools that have taught all kinds of craziness, but in just the mainstream education, who's teaching the stuff that the right is
classical?
I actually think I could pull up a high school class that has that. Seriously.
Sorry, Sean, but you're sick, and I don't like talking to sick people.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. What do you want to say? Classical? What are you classical in? Music?
Classical in the theistic perspective and the music perspective. That could work too.
Oh, good. I like classical music sometimes.
Yeah, classical music is when we were a good society. No theism here, but I do want to ask you. You're conservative, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know much about you, but okay, conservative. You're a Trump supporter. Is that fair?
No, I would prefer someone else, but I've always said if it's between Trump and Biden, I'd vote Trump.
Okay. Who's the preferred person? Who do you think right now?
I actually liked Vivek Ramaswamy. I think he was like. Wouldn't it be refreshing to get a young person in?
Well, for me, it's I also like Vivek, or Vivek, whatever. But I also like him, but not because he's a young person, because he has good views.
Oh yeah. I agreed with a lot of his views. I'm not sure what I disagreed with him on, but I think out of all the people strong on the border, I think he would be really strong on the border. Like right now in Texas, the National Guard in Texas is putting up barbed wire fences to keep immigrants out, which I thumbs up. And the federal government is trying to use legal means to stop them. I don't get this. Like, this is you basically have to be a weak-kneed, like feel sorry for type of person to say, no, we can't allow barbed wire because they might cut themselves. No, this is nonsense.
I miss the old Trump when he said that we should put alligator pits and poisonous snakes on the other side of the border. I think that was a good statement there. But no, so Vivek, one thing I do disagree with him on is his pullback on his statement about Israel. Because what he originally said in the debates in Israel is we need to cut all funding from Israel because they're of no purpose to us. Essentially, he didn't, not word for word, but essentially they can fend for their own. They don't need us.
I agree with him. I don't think the U.S. should be giving Israel money.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's what I was going to raise. Another thing that I do disagree also, I mean, one thing that I did like, and I want to know if you like this take from him, was that in one of the debates they asked they said, what would you do in partisan with the Democrats in order to solve the problem on the border or something like that? And he essentially said, I wouldn't do anything in partisan. I would use my executive action to send the military down there.
Yeah, exactly. And put barbed wire all across 1,000 miles.
Yeah. Okay. Now
it's probably cheaper than a wall.
Yeah. Now I'm glad you're have those opinions about getting away from the liberalism of the right wing. I hope. Would you say that we need to move away from liberalism on the right wing?
On the right wing?
Yes.
Well, it depends on how you define liberalism. Like classical liberalism is very strong on free speech, and I'm strong on free speech. So I actually like liberals, classical liberals.
Okay. So are these positions of not having partisan views on the border and just taking executive action, do you think that's a liberal view, or would you say that's a more authoritarian view?
Well, if someone, quick answer, authoritarian, but longer answer is that's not necessarily bad, because if the country votes in a party who runs the executive and the legislature, then they have that power. They've been voted with that type of unilateral power to basically say, oh, you Democrats think this is a bad idea? So what? Go cry. We're going to do it. And they have the power to do it. And then maybe the judicial branch might step in. But even then, if they vote conservative, then they're going to probably not, Democrats will be stuck. But the thing is, most Democrats, I would say the majority of Democrats.
Sorry, I got a call and the audio cut out, and I wouldn't come back, so I had to join back.
Yeah, I understand.
I heard about half of that. You said yes, it is authoritarian, and I kind of got cut out a little bit after that. Sorry.
People are scared of that word authoritarian because they think fascism or something, but authoritarian can just mean an authority above you is taking action on something, and that could be as little as your parents. It could be a police officer, whatever it might be. And it doesn't necessarily mean that's the end of the world and something really, really bad. And then I was just saying that people can vote for the Senate, the House, and the President to all be of the same party. And then, you can get things done much faster.
Yeah, I agree. I think that pushes away from, because I don't like classical liberalism.
Why not?
No, I don't. I'm very traditionally right wing, not in the sense of George Bush, Ronald Reagan traditionalism, but in the sense of Western society traditional right wing, as in very strong on authority. People like Francisco Franco, and also the counterparts to Francisco Franco in the area. The more, I can't remember the name off the top of my head because I don't look into this stuff very much. But the counterparts to Francisco Franco were anti-monarchist, but they're more corporatist and very authoritarian, a little bit of socialism in the economy. I'm very traditionally right-wing in that sense. I'm not a big Constitution fan. Not a big Constitution fan. I think was a very liberal document that we're watching the demise of it.
Okay, so far you've been telling me what you're not. What are you? Use words to describe what you do believe.
Well, it's hard to say because I would call myself a progressive, and not in the modern liberal left wing, liberal capital or lowercase l liberal as in the left wing sense. But I am a progressive in the sense that I don't want to go back to anything. I want something new. So I'm not a traditionalist, definitely a progressive.
Again, you're saying what you're not. I'm forcing you to say what you are and say what you're not.
Yeah, right. No, I know, because I'm getting to it. So progressive as in progressive. I don't want to go back to things. Want a new thing. Socially very right wing, authoritarian right wing. I would want some sort of monarchy. Is the best case.
You want a monarchy? You want kings and queens?
Yes, that's the best case scenario.
Oh my!
Trump for king.
Oh my! Are you being serious right now?
No, I'm being completely serious. I make little jokes, but no, I'm being I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm being completely serious.
So not only do you want kings, you actually want Trump to be king?
Yes, like in current modern, like, okay, Trump's not the best person to be a king for. And
who would be the best person currently in politics to be your king?
Trump, yeah, Trump.
Oh my,
yeah,
the orange fat man as king.
Yeah, the orange fat man. He needs to take this country over.
Well, his skin might match the crown.
Yeah, that's probably true. But and then economically, I'm mixed. I probably lean left wing on economics.
What? Whoa. You're blowing my brain here. You wanted Trump to be king, yet you like okay, what do you mean? You like a lot of spending? You like
no,
just printing press, print out dollars and give everybody money?
No, absolutely not. I do think that so I do believe in I think universal health care would be a great thing for the country. Not in its current state, though. I will say that we'd have to kick a lot of poor people out of this country, probably 10s and 20s and 30s, maybe even hundreds of millions of people to achieve that. But best case scenario, yeah, I'm for things like a universal health care. I'm for things like I think the government should be funding mothers in the home for them to stay home and not work.
Are you for personal responsibility?
Am I for personal, like as an ethic, or is this?
Like
yeah. People are personally responsible.
So when someone gets pregnant, when a woman gets pregnant, I sound like a trans activist. When a woman gets pregnant, whose fault is it, or who's responsible for that?
Well, yeah, the woman's ultimately responsible.
Yeah, especially when they're the gatekeepers for coitus.
Right.
So, if what do you think I should pay for other people's kids?
Do I think that you should pay for other people's kids?
Yeah.
I think that if a government cannot provide an adequate economy for the average American mother, not immigrant mothers, but the average American mother, then yes, the society should come together to support that.
Okay, should they be encouraged to have children knowing they can't support them themselves?
Should they be encouraged to have children knowing that they can't support them themselves?
Like, for example, this is what really separates the left from the right. One of the ways, a poor young woman gets pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I look at her in the eyes and I say, "You made a mistake. Shame on you."
Right?
Is that bad? Is it untrue what I said?
I agree with that. That's a personal value that I have too. I mean, I will not have children until I can support them on my own. But the point that I get at with that is that a country needs to support.
My chair just broke. No, it's back.
Okay. The point that I'm getting at is that a society needs to support having children. First and foremost, that's like one of the main tenets that I have for a country. And one of those main tenets, obviously, you're going to have motherhood, which is probably the most important part of it. And that mother needs to stay home. And if the woman does not stay home, she's putting herself at risk. She's putting the child at risk. She's putting the family at risk.
So you want mothers to stay home with their kids?
Yes, I do.
But you want society to pay for it if they can't afford it?
Not necessarily.
Hang on, my dog's going crazy. I got to let him in. I'll be right back. Just like 10, 20 seconds. Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Yeah, and it's not necessarily that I want society to support them, because obviously I think the father should be supporting them. But if the society can't provide, on a general basis, by majority, if the society cannot provide for the father to have a stable home, to support the mother, then yes, the government should be in some sort of a reimbursement for their lack of responsibility for society.
Well, yeah, I am in agreement that we don't let people starve to death, but just as what we want to promote as a society, and to let people know that, hey, you made a mistake. Now we're going to pay for your mistake, but don't make the same mistake twice. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I just don't think it's a mistake. Like,
you don't think it's a mistake for, let's say, a teenage girl to get pregnant who can't afford the kid?
Not objectively. No, not objectively.
Well, I don't believe in objective morals, but
okay. Well,
for society, do you think it's good for society for teenage pregnancies to exist with no father, for example, and no means to support the kid?
Do we want to stick on modern day America, or just like in my ideal society?
In modern day America, teenage girl gets pregnant, father takes off.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah. So we do not, as a society, we should shame that, right? And say, hey, kids, keep your pants on.
No, absolutely. Yeah, we should
use protection. And even if you use protection, there's a non-0% chance that you're going to have a kid. So if you are going to have sexual intercourse, keep that in mind. Think with your brain, not your penis or your vagina.
Right.
And then if you do make this mistake, don't be shocked when society says, bad you.
No, I agree.
Okay.
This would not, trust me, this policy, quote unquote, that I'm supporting would not include that situation. This would be strictly for married people, married people where the father has a job, a salary job. And it's purely supportive on the fact that this gets the family where it needs to be.
Are you for abortion?
No, absolutely not. I'm Catholic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wouldn't it be better for society for unwanted babies to be killed?
No, absolutely. That would never be the case.
Like, let's say between 0 and, I don't know, 10 weeks?
No, absolutely not.
Why not? Because then society doesn't have to pay for the kid. It's obvious, well, in a lot of cases, the woman doesn't want the kid. Why not just kill it?
Well, I'm not a utilitarian. It's not just because it's a good situation for society in the short term doesn't mean that there's we're not killing a human.
Why not kill it?
Because it's a life, and that's you're going against all of nature.
So
by
what?
Killing something by killing a human.
Are you a vegetarian?
No.
Or vegan?
No.
Okay, we kill cows and we eat them. Why can't we kill a 10-week fetus?
Because
cow's life, we killed that life.
Yeah, cows have no rationality. They don't make decisions.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Do any animals besides us have rationality?
No, they don't have rationality. They have natural decision making.
Do any animals have rationality?
How are we defining rationality?
To make decisions.
Decisions based on reason and logic?
To think and ponder things, yeah.
No, they don't. They don't have the capacity to think with reason and logic.
Really?
No, they don't. They don't reason. They don't
Chimpanzees, dolphins.
No. Just because they have emotional capabilities where they can feel pain or they can have an emotional connection with another one of theirs doesn't mean they're rational beings.
So is it just by definition you're saying this, or do you actually think that animals can have rationality? Maybe not as good as ours, but no rationality at all?
No, if we're defining rational as that they act in accordance with reason, then no, they don't act in accordance
with reason. Does a 10-week fetus have rationality if they have no brain?
Well, rationality is in the soul, not the brain. But
Catholics, gotta love Catholics.
I gotta stick to Aristotle here, PineCreek.
Gotta love Catholics.
I got to stick to Aristotle here, PineCreek. I got to.
So you're saying a 10-week fetus, or let's say a 1-week fetus without a brain, still has rationality because it has a soul.
It does potentially. It may not actualize it in the womb.
Tell me this animal doesn't have rationality.
No, they trained it to do that. It doesn't have rationality.
It trained it. Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
they trained
I don't
it.
doubt. I don't doubt that.
This is what they did. This is what they did, PineCreek. They gave it a paintbrush and then they gave it a bunch of food, and then they grabbed the snout and then they started dragging it on the paper, and then they gave it.
There's no person dragging the snout here.
No, that's what they do for all these things. They train it to do that.
Well,
Elephants don't just pick up paintbrushes.
I'm a father. I train my kids to do stuff too.
Yeah, I know. Because there's a point where because there's a point before the age of reasonability. And that's why I said that babies have a potentiality.
Okay, let's get back to the 10-week fetus that has rationality. Okay. You say the rationality is in the soul?
Yeah, the rationality comes from the soul and it manifests into the brain.
Okay, but I'm saying, imagine a fetus 1 week, no brain. Still rationality?
Yeah, it has the potential for rationality.
Okay, but does it currently have rationality?
Yes, it has rationality, yes. It doesn't make rational decisions because it's only...
So a 1 week fetus with no brain has rationality?
Yes,
but you're saying this elephant doesn't?
Yes, it has...
That has a brain?
Yeah, it has it as a property, but it does not make rational decisions. It doesn't actualize.
Well, how do you know that's true, that it has it as a property?
Because all humans have rational souls, and all humans.
How do you know that all humans have rational souls?
Because the Pope said so.
Oh my goodness!
Start
thinking for yourself, man.
That was a joke.
No, I actually think that is your reason.
No, it's not my reason, but a little bit. But that's not.
If you're a Catholic, that has to be your reason because the Pope said so.
Well, no, that's not because I'm a convert, so I had to come to that conclusion before I became a Catholic.
Okay, so you're married and your wife was a Catholic, right?
No, I'm very young.
Oh, how old are you?
I'm 21.
Okay, and
I'm in college.
You switched from what to Catholicism?
I was an atheist until I was about 18, and then I was.
And then you got caught watching porn. And then
my parents are both atheists.
You got caught watching porn, you felt guilty, and you became a Catholic? Is that what's happened?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I did a lot of thinking, I did a lot of studying, ran into some really weird cultic evangelical street preachers, talked to them for a long time. They made some sense, but not a lot of sense.
Catholic street preachers?
What's that?
Catholic street preachers?
No. They were like the evangelical picket sign, "You're going to hell" street preachers.
Okay.
Yeah, and I liked their overall message that they had of the Bible, but it didn't make any sense to me really. And
by the way, I got 2 minutes left, so
okay, no problem.
I got to go pick up my kid from school. Okay, so I don't know what to say to you. I actually don't care if you're a Catholic or not.
Yeah.
You do you. But I think to say that it's bad to kill a 1 week fetus because it has a rational soul, which you can't justify. You never really did answer the question, how do you know that? It's other than you joked and said the Pope told you so. But is there any other reason?
Yeah, the reason is that all humans have the capability for rationality.
I'm not denying that. But
yeah, this is
the 1 week old. How do you know at that moment it has rationality?
Because if we all have the capability for it, if you conceive a human fetus, if you conceive a human fetus or a baby, it's not going to not have that thing on accident. It will always, with certainty, have rational capabilities.
I'm not talking about capabilities. I'm talking about what it actually has at the moment. A 1 week fetus has a rational soul, you said. Why do you believe that? I know you believe it has the capability to be rational later, but here you got life, human life, but without a brain. Do you need a brain to have rationality?
You need a brain to make rational decisions, yes.
Okay. Can a 1 week old fetus make rational decisions?
No, it can't make rational decisions.
Can it do anything rational?
No, it can't do anything rational.
So in what way is it rational?
It's what I said before. It's in its potential. It's the fact that it has.
Okay, so it's all potential, right?
No, hold on one sec. It has the thing, right? It has the rational soul, but it can only be actualized by a proper brain that can function that thing. Animals in another case, they don't even have the capability. There's nothing natural that could happen where they could start making rational decisions like humans.
Okay, I disagree with you, but I don't care if we disagree on that. I still want to know, what is so bad about killing a 1-week fetus?
It's murder.
It's murder.
Yeah.
What if society says it's not murder? Is it still murder?
Yes.
Who says so?
Nature. First of all, nature says so.
If
God
all
says
of
so.
mankind says killing a 1-week fetus is not murder, you're saying it's still murder?
Yes.
Who's saying it's? Everybody says it's not murder.
Well, no. What I mean by nature is not just all humans have a consensus of something. I think that's a terrible and dangerous belief. But what I'm saying is that nature says so. The natural law and the natural order of things in nature goes completely against that.
Okay, the whole world says we don't care what nature says.
Well, no, that's not what I mean by nature. I'm talking in like an Aristotelian sense of like natural law and nature.
Aristotle was a goofball. I'm asking you. Like, murder is defined as illegal killing, yes?
Yeah, the killing of an innocent person.
Illegal killing. Who makes laws?
Is there murder in lawless countries?
Technically, no. If they're completely lawless, no.
Well, that's terrible. I think that's terrible.
That would just be called killing that people don't like.
But it's going to get into a morality discussion, and I know you have to go soon. So
yeah, you're right. It's probably going to be a big conversation, but I think here's what I think you truly believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You think it's murder and bad to kill 1-week fetus because God said so?
Well, in very simple terms, yes. But just because I'm not an evangelical. I'm not these Protestant evangelical. Like, I have a extensive view of natural theology. So yes, God said so, but in virtue of his creation, which governs all things in nature, that we can observe without even cracking open the Bible.
Yeah, I understand. But I think you're better off as a Catholic just saying murder's wrong because God said so. And you're basically trying to make it sound more important and valuable by mentioning guys like Aristotle and nature and whatever. But basically it boils down to God made the planet, God made nature, God set forth a certain way for things to run. And so if you don't let it run its natural course, then you're sinning against God and the way things ought to be. But it all boils down to the top dog, whose name is Yahweh.
Yeah, it does boil down to God said so, just as your argument boils down to I said so.
Yeah. And did you choose to become a Catholic?
Yes, I did.
You're the God of your own life. You chose to be a Catholic. So you're the God of your own life, and I'm the God of mine as a naturalist. We're the same.
No.
You are the God of your own life because you chose to give up certain things and follow Roman Catholicism.
I did choose that because I have the faculties to do that, but I'm not the God of my own life.
Yeah, you are. Could you choose not to be a Catholic?
Absolutely, I could.
Yeah, and you chose to be a Catholic. Can you choose what to eat? Can you choose what job you want? I mean, if you're not the God of your own life, I don't know who is.
God is, no matter what. I could be an atheist. God is the God of your life.
But what power does God have over you if you choose to deny him? You think he's going to force you to follow him? You think, no, he's going to leave you to your own devices, right? You and every Christian out there, whether Protestant or Catholic, are gods of their own life. Unless one exception, the Calvinists, I give a pass because they don't believe they chose at all. So there you go, Calvinists. You got something. One up on the Catholics and the Protestants.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'll let you go. You're very interesting to talk to. I'll come back in for sure. And I want to talk more about the politics thing because I knew it was going to get into theism for some reason. But
well, as soon as you said you're Catholic, yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? But I want to talk to you more about the politics thing. So I'll come back in whenever.
Okay, thanks for calling in.
No problem. Thanks.
Okay, so 7 o'clock Mountain Time. What is that? 6 o'clock Pacific. I'm doing an informal debate with some YouTube superstar, P.F. Young, like the Chinese Young, on his channel. We'll maybe see you then. Thanks for hanging out. How long have we been going? We've been going 2 hours, 48 minutes. Not bad. Poof.